MMA Hour. All right, let's do it, Danny. You and I, we don't have a moment to waste, so let's get to it now. You said the calls were huge in volume, voluminous, I suppose.
Yes.
And all good. Not a moment to waste, my friend.
All right.
Let's get it.
Obviously, UFC 229 stuff, the whole Khabib and Conor McGregor stuff. So let's get right into it.
All right.
Hey, this is Wilson from New York, and I just wanted to talk about what happened, inside of the cage. Yes, I know Khabib has started shit outside of the cage. But what happened inside of the cage and how it all started was Conor McGregor sucking, punching Khabib's cousin. And no one's talking about that. They're just talking about how Conor got jumped, having him the victim. And I feel like we should all shine a light on everything, what happened outside and inside, who started the outside brawl.
Okay. I get it. Yeah, I mean, here's the deal with that call. People keep saying the media is not talking about this. The media is all talking about it.
Tweets about that.
Why do people imagine that no one's talking about it? The video is out there for everyone to see. With the first reaction videos all came out before anyone had a chance to really pour over stuff. Now that it's clear, everyone's talking about it. This is a nonsense talking point. It's not real. It's total fake news. Okay, now let's adjudicate this a little bit, Danny. Here's the thing. Did Conor attack a guy unprovoked inside the cage? Yes, he did. So, I felt bad that he was getting punched, but at the same time, again, you poke the rattlesnake with a stick, you're going to get, this is what you get, and to a degree. Here's what I'll say. I don't understand the distinction, though. It's like, I'm not looking at Khabib any more or worse than Conor. To me, once you leave the octagon and you flying jump kick someone's teammate, if that other dude punches another dude, that is just an inevitable consequence of it. They're all in the wrong as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about that. Clearly, Khabib was the first one to jump out, and as soon as that happened, you knew anything was going to go from then on. I mean, it was going to spark chaos, right?
Like, what are folks expecting? He jumps out of the cage and Conor's just going to sit there?
Yeah.
He shouldn't do anything, but whether he should or he shouldn't is not a question about whether he will or he won't. Easy way to evaluate this. Next.
Yeah. All right, now let's talk about what this means for the UFC.
Okay.
Hi, Danny. Hi, Luke. I'm Ben, calling from France. While watching the brawl up on Saturday night, all I could think of was that this event just delayed the legalization of MMA in France by a few years. I think opponents of MMA here will jump on it and talk about all the lack of respect and sportsmanship. My question is, do you think there is a way this brawl could actually be a good thing, or was it just a disaster? Thanks for your time, and I'm loving the new MMA Hour. Keep on going.
So, first of all, awesome question. Nice and short, right?
Yeah, and good microphone.
Yes, very good. Right. That was an email for an international caller.
The MMA Hour at VoxMedia.com.
So is this ultimately good for the UFC, good promotion? I mean, this whole fight, the promotion was built off an assault case, right? In Brooklyn.
But it's not, though. It's not. Here's the thing about this. And I've said this before, and I had this debate with some people on Twitter. I'm not arguing that the bus was quite literally a valuable vehicle to sell the fight. Yes, it was. But again, I go back to the John Malkovich thing. Could you tell the story of this fight and never make reference to the bus and still have outlandish sales? Yes, of course you can! You're talking about the biggest star in the sport versus the toughest motherfucker in that division. What are people talking about that you need a bus? Oh, we got to have that bus in there. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's not. It's part of the story because it didn't happen. But like this adherence to it, like this is really the focus. No, this is a distraction for the dogs. It drives me crazy.
So
sorry, I haven't slept well, and I'm just full of all these kinds of emotions.
All good, but so is to answer this question, ultimately, is this going to be good for the UFC, or is this a disaster? Is this a setback for them?
In France, certainly this is not going to help any kind of efforts with getting that mainstreamed. I trust that the French caller knows France better than us, and we know that they've had some problems there. Remember, judo is also strong in France, and they have they're natural lobbyists against MMA, so that doesn't help. Inside the United States, I think it probably in the end will be either a wash or a benefit to the UFC, if I can just be candid about it. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that's the thing.
Yeah, I think everyone's initial reaction, especially on Twitter, was like, "Oh my God, this is awful! Black eye to the sport, this and that." But
it was an ugly scene.
it was very ugly. In fact, it was very ugly at the moment. But I think us as working in media, we kind of lose a little bit of the fan in us, right? Because we got to look at things with a different perspective, right? And fan, by nature of the name fanatic, right? Like people don't really analyze this like, oh, this fight should never happen. That bus incident, this is horrible that he went out of the cage and fought. Most people are going, oh, this is so sick. What world star? Taking out all their phones and filming this. I mean, let's be real. At the end of the day, I think this only makes this rivalry even bigger, right?
Yeah, I think that's true. But let me I think that's true. I think that's true. Let me say one final note about this, if I may, Danny. Look, if the worst that happens is that Khabib jumps out of the cage and goes after Dylan Dennis, then we'll all sleep fine at night. Here's what I worry about is escalating to the point where something serious happens. Someone actually gets really hurt or, God forbid, killed in some kind of way. Because everyone is out here playing like it's a big game. These Dagestanis, they're not playing games with you. It's not a game to them. So, look, again, if this is all that happens, okay, it's fine. But I worry about escalating tensions.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. And everybody's mentioning and speaking of a rematch right now. And I even tweeted, and I caught a lot of hate from this on Twitter, obviously. Yeah, believe it or not. I even tweeted, dude, is even a rematch safe to run? I mean, there's so much tension right now. And forget about Khabib and McGregor. Look at what happened between the fans. There was clearly, the videos were literally Irish fans.
Yep.
Going against Khabib's people, Dagestanis, Russian people that were backing up Khabib, and it was an ugly scene, man.
It really was.
It was an ugly scene.
I agree.
So, yeah. All right, let's keep moving and discuss some other things about this whole incident.
Hi guys, Briggsy here from London. Enjoy the show, thanks very much. Just a quick question. Is there any precedent in a title fight scenario where the non-title holding loser gets a rematch when there was a non-controversial win for the title holder? Cheers, guys.
Boy, that is a good question.
So we've seen already the UFC make all kinds of rematches that don't make any sense, right? The Rose Joanna Jędrzejczyk, right? It was pretty clear that Rose defeated Jędrzejczyk in the first round. Same thing with Cody Garbrandt and TJ Dillashaw.
Yep.
But they had the belt. They were champions. What's going to happen here? Rematch or no?
Boy, I think it'd be a very bad idea for Conor McGregor to rematch right away. And you can say, well, didn't he rematch Nate Diaz right away? He did. But there were some circumstances he can go back to. First of all, he was piecing Nate Diaz up early in that fight. It was at a different weight class. There were some reasons you could think for optimism. I don't know what your reasons for optimism would be here. He can't wrestle with Khabib, not right now, and a year ain't going to fix that. He showed, I thought, some skill. I've said this before. Like, whose wrestling was better or worse, his or Edson Barboza? You could argue that Khabib showed better anti-wrestling than Edson Barboza, and I'd be perfectly content with saying as much. But it's still not even close to enough. Like, the guy just has so much of an advantage over everyone. If I'm McGregor, I absolutely put in a little more work in the gym before I ask for that one back.
Yeah, and as I said, the tensions are high. I think you got to let this one cool down for a bit.
Sure.
You cannot rebook an immediate rematch. Things are getting ugly, and they can get out of hand. For a specific reason. The UFC knows, they're aware of this. The first press conference, there was no fans because of this, So I think, see what happens with Diaz and Poirier. If Diaz win or lose, I really don't think he wants a crack at the lightweight title. We don't even know what's going to happen with that. But I think probably the next move for Conor is that trilogy with Diaz. Would you agree?
I hope, actually. Win or lose for Nate, by the way.
And it's crazy how that's like the more civil fight, but even then...
I know, it's wild.
Jesus, MMA is insane.
It certainly is.
All right, well, let's talk about what's going to happen with the UFC lightweight title.
Hey, Luke, it's Brian from Orlando. I was just wondering if Khabib gets stripped or, gets sentenced by the commission and gets stripped as a result, who do you have fight for the lightweight title? Thinking maybe Tony Ferguson versus either the winner of Nate and Dustin, or maybe even Tony Ferguson versus McGregor. I'd just like to hear your thoughts.
Right. So let's be clear about this. The commission doesn't strip titles. The promotion does.
Yep.
I'll eat my hat if they strip his title. There's no way they're doing
Chuck Chuck Mindenhall.
Yeah, I'll eat Chuck Mindenhall's hat. It's an expression, but
Yeah. Teasing.
yeah, I understand. There's no way they're going to strip him. Now, what they might do in some other kind of public show of force, I don't know. I don't know how you do anything when you did nothing at all about McGregor.
Yeah.
So good luck with that one.
Yeah, so you don't think he gets stripped?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit. Look, the UFC needs guys who can sell on pay-per-view. I mean, Khabib, you can say if he's a villain, he's a villain. But he ratcheted it up. Boy, people are saying, nobody knows who Khabib is heading into this Conor McGregor fight. First of all, he had a much greater public profile, which you can measure through in many ways, not least of which was Google searches prior to the first Nate Diaz fight and this fight. Significantly greater impact years ago than Nate Diaz was before the Conor McGregor fight. And I know people challenge that. It's not. I am 1,000% right about that. And the other part is, even if you don't agree with that, people were saying, no one knows who Khabib is. Boy, they know now. They know now.
Oh, yeah. But, okay, so maybe not stripped, but suspended. Is that possible?
Not really. No.
You don't think so?
No. I don't think they're going to do anything. No.
Well, which
If
sets,
someone had been really injured,
yeah,
that would change the debate. But he attacked one of Conor's teammates who, a lot of people seem to dislike. So,
yeah. All right, so we've been talking about what happened after. Let's talk about what happened inside of the cage.
Okay.
Hi, Luke. My name is Shirley, and I'm calling from Brooklyn. My boyfriend Kenny and
Brooklyn.
I disagree about who to blame for Conor's cheating during the fight. I'll let him go first.
Hey, Luke.
Tag team.
So we saw the fence grabbing Khabib's gloves and shorts and throwing illegal knee during the fight. And personally, I don't really blame him for this because he was getting dominated and he was in desperation mode. So, like they say, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Personally, I think the fault lies entirely with Herb Dean for failing to enforce the rules and being scared to, quote unquote, influence the fight by taking a point.
Okay.
I see what you're saying, but I still think Conor's to blame for this. He behaved in a unsportsmanlike manner, and even though Dean didn't do anything, it's still a dirty thing for Conor to do. Other fighters don't cheat that much when they're down, so why does he get a pass? Let us know what you think.
Thanks, Luke.
Boy, that might be the greatest question we've ever gotten.
I know, and it was our first couple callers.
Wow, they had
Yeah.
two people talk, and they still kept it parsimonious. Well done.
Yeah, and they got it in a minute, and that's two people talking. Most people that call, they leave like 2-minute voicemails.
Yeah, amazing. How about you go first? What do you think?
So first of all, that's something I noticed a lot. He was grabbing the shorts, he was grabbing the glove.
Yep.
Even when Khabib, before the finishing sequence where Khabib was dragging him back, he even grabbed the fence for a second. I don't know if you noticed with his hand.
Yeah, I went over it a little bit with the Monday Morning Analyst. I didn't have a whole lot of time, but yes.
So there was a lot of cheating involved. And Khabib, it was so obvious that Khabib was talking to Herb Dean as it was happening. He was telling him, look, he keeps doing it. Man, how many times are we going to mention it? The refs got to go in there and start influencing the fight. I mean, that's their job. This whole idea that, no, we got to keep it a pure fight. Well, if the man's doing something illegal, he's not getting punished for it. I mean, it just so happened to be that it didn't influence the outcome. But given any other fighter, given all the things that happened, maybe it could have if it wasn't Khabib in that cage, right?
You know what's kind of funny is you watched some of the reaction to what Khabib did outside the cage. And here's I don't condone it in any capacity, but I was looking at like people were defending it, so I was trying to like read their logic about why they were defending it, and their answer was, Conor didn't just talk a bunch of stuff, but he got away with a bunch of stuff. There's this sense that it was up to Khabib to stick it to him, to give him something that nobody else would. Now I don't think Herb Dean is trying to give Conor any favoritism.
Yes.
And to answer the question, I would say, yeah, of course. If you're cheating, then you deserve some share of the blame. But really, I'm with you. I think Herb Dean, like fighters are going to cheat.
Yeah.
Either intentionally or unintentionally. They're going to do it. Somebody has to do something about it. That's the job of the referee.
Khabib trying to drag you down and
Holding a
squeeze
fence.
your jaw.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to do anything possible to stop
Yeah, and look, some of that might have been natural. Some of that might have been intentionally cheating. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is. Here's what I know. One guy in that octagon can do something about it other than Khabib, and that is Herb, or in this case, it was Herb Dean. But the referees, ultimately, that is where you can't rely on self-policing, right? Oh, it's up to the fighters to self-police. Yeah, it is, but they're not gonna. So that's why the referee is there.
Yeah. I agree with you on that.
Right.
Now let's talk about Conor. This caller brought up an interesting point, and it's something I noticed as well.
Okay.
Hey, Luke. This is Carlos from Sunrise, Florida. I just wanted to talk about Conor real quick. I I thought Saturday night he looked a bit slow. He didn't look like the old Conor that we know. A lot of his punches were missing that pop that he used to have, and he looked like he was thinking too much about his shots. I'm not taking anything from Khabib at all. He looked spectacular, but I don't know. Just maybe Conor didn't take it so serious. I don't know. But I don't. It definitely
right.
didn't.
I'm gonna cut it right there.
Yeah. A lot of ums and ahs, but good question.
Yeah, good question. And look, I made this. I noticed this, and not even in the fight when Conor McGregor got in the octagon, and he was like, I mean, he did some of the vintage stuff, like the millionaire strut, and a few things, and he goes up to the camera, billionaire, right? But he just looked off. He didn't look with the same edge. He didn't have that same intensity. And am I wrong? Did you notice that as well?
I don't try to read too much into body language expertise. I think a lot of it is just, on the same level of eugenics. I think a lot of it, some of it's real, some of it's not. So did he look a little different, to answer your question? Yes. But to me, it's like, let's watch what happened in the cage. Dude, Khabib had a perfect fight. I mean, not a perfect fight, but a pretty close to one.
Yeah.
Right? He went out there. People he didn't do any damage in the first round. He doesn't need to. He's fighting a guy with a very low work capacity. All you got to do is make him work. And once you do, people are saying he didn't have the same zip and pop. Right. Because he had to wrestle for 4.5 minutes. Mm-hmm. He can't strike as well as he normally does with those kinds of conditions put on him. To me, it's like, I get that a second time, if Conor comes back, maybe there was some ring rust. If he comes back in, like, let's say, less than 6 months, he'll look better. I can totally believe that. But you got to give credit where it's due. Khabib went in there, and dude, Khabib did exactly what he said he was going to do every time. You don't show up at the press conference on time, I'm leaving. I'm going to be the first one to make weight. By the way, I'm going to make him tired, because when you do, he quits. Yeah. Everything he said he was going to do, he did. What do you want to do about that?
I agree with you. Obviously, Khabib's performance was almost flawless. But I would say that Conor did look a bit slow. I don't know if it's a 2-year layoff. I don't know what it is. He also has he was trying to push that proper whiskey as well. He's got a business venture. Yeah. He was pushing that hard, man, and that takes time.
A little distracted, maybe.
I think maybe he was a little bit out of focus.
I think he was focused so much on Khabib's wrestling and having to wrestle himself, and it's not natural for him to wrestle. So that he just couldn't really get. Look at the first instance when Khabib shoots on the wrong leg, and Conor doesn't keep. He just sprawls and then stops. He doesn't keep moving, and so now he's all tangled up and he's having to think about it. That's not where he shines. He shines when he's just in a flow and there's rhythm going. And 98% of that for me is Khabib. But maybe you're right. Maybe there's something to that.
Yeah. All right. So obviously that was the biggest fight of the card, but tons of good things happened on that card as well. So let's talk about the co-main.
Let's see it.
What's going on, Luke and Danny? This is Dylan from New Jersey. I just wanted to get your guys' thought on, aside from the shit show that was post Khabib McGregor, one of the most dominant victories of the night was Tony Ferguson's win over Anthony Pettis. I want you to talk about coming 5-6 months removed from a brutal knee injury and looking like that. I really think that he's next in line for a shot at the belt. We don't really know what Khabib's status is going to be suspension-wise.
Due to time constraints, I'm going to cut it right here. But you get the question.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
or the point.
I've been talking to Tony. He was supposed to be in the show today. I don't know what happened. I was going to ask him about this little gift I got at the. Can we show a picture of this real quickly? You see that? The open workout. Anyway, right there. It's this. He called me out at the open workout. So I was like, come here. And then he gave it to me, and I was going to ask him about it. But
what's that?
It's like some kind of forearm thing. I don't really know. But that's the thing. I was going to ask him. Like, I don't really understand what it is.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, it's a workout tool. It's a workout tool. Neither here nor there. I mean, look, man, what do you want to say about Tony? He looked phenomenal. And those tears at the end. I don't know exactly what he was thinking prior to the fight. Mm-hmm. It seems to me, judging from afar, that he looked like a guy who felt like the world forgot about him.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they did, or he just feels that way, or he's got some good arguments for it. I don't know. But that to me was like, when the world forgets about you, you begin to think about, maybe I'm worth being forgotten. And to go back and win that way, it looked to me like a guy who thought, no. The sun has not set on this career, not yet. I am still the guy. And it made me a little emotional watching it, to be quite honest. Yeah. I was really happy for him.
And for me, it wasn't only like the world forgot about him, but it's also where he was before. Like, people have to remember, at one point when Khabib had his health issues and couldn't make the fight, at one point all we could talk about was Conor McGregor versus Tony Ferguson. Those were the two guys, right? And maybe throw Nate Diaz in there, but Khabib for a second was out of the picture. And he was the champion, he was making the big bucks, and even the promotion. Like, there was nothing for him in the co-main event. It was really all surrounded around the main. So definitely forgotten. And, he made sure to let the world know, that he's back. I mean, 5 months from a gruesome injury. Even Dominic Cruz was saying, like, yo, I don't even know.
And by the way, the thing I find the craziest is that he didn't do PT with a registered physical trainer.
Yeah, I know. He did it all on his own.
Dude, it's just, I've said this before. Tony Ferguson is the only guy in the world who can make gold out of alchemy. Yeah. He's the only one.
Yeah, he's insane. So let's talk about the other side of that co-main event, Anthony Pettis.
Hey, this is Brandon Quintana from Rose Beach, California. How was your morning so far, Luke?
Terrible.
Cool. Anyway, my question is about Pettis. I believe Pettis' stock rose last night despite a loss. I also believe that the fight played out the best that it possibly could. Tony looked great and continued to streak. Pettis lost for no fault of his own and picked up where he left off in the Chiesa fight in terms of his creativity and the quality of his performance. However, even with the performance that he put on last night, could you see him stepping in there with the likes of someone like Kevin Lee or Justin Gaethje? I feel like Pettis might need a few more good matchups with maybe some strikers in the division. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good one. So let me answer this and then you give it to you so we can move along because I got to get going. I have another 3 hours of radio to do. Yay. Okay, here's what I would say about that. I thought Anthony Pettis also looked phenomenal. By the way, he nearly stopped Tony Ferguson.
Yes.
I mean, he got, I'm not sure exactly how close he got, but it got a little dicey there. Actually, very dicey for a while. He had a great dude. I keep getting into the two confused. Anthony Pettis had one of the best attitudes all fight week. He looked completely dialed in. He took him a little while to make weight, but he made weight. Dude, I think you're right. Give him a little bit of a building block back up. Yeah. People still care. He still brings it. He's still a good fighter.
I think for a while I thought, we had sort of the old Anthony Pettis was gone, right? And I think a lot of that was mental. I think, we saw a fighter like in, him coming up, he's Showtime Pettis. He was flashy. He was having fun in there, being creative. And then for a while, I feel like he got too serious and got too technical, And I feel like after the Poirier fight, and we saw that, he was just having fun in there, and he's been having fun. And we saw it in this fight, sticking out his tongue to the camera and whatnot. So I think at this point, he should get some fights to build him up because you can tell he's got a lot of fight in him.
Yep.
I mean, he almost finished Ferguson, had him doing all kinds of flips.
Yeah.
We saw there. Yeah.
All right, we got time for one more, and then I got to get uptown.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about the fight we never
Luke,
saw.
What's up, man? It's Michael from New York. After all the Khabib Conor debacle in the cage, whatever you want to call it, I have a question for you. How many pay-per-view buys do you think a Tony Ferguson Khabib Nurmagomedov fight does now? I actually think the fight does over 1 million pay-per-view buys now. I think Khabib's stardom is skyrocketed. With Tony Ferguson winning 12 fights in a row, I think that fight's a super fight now. Not super fight, in the upper echelon compared to Jordan Jones' GSP. I think Khabib's in that number now, and Tony Ferguson has that backstory as well with him. Just for your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's a good question. No one really knows exactly how popular Khabib is. There'll be some independent metrics. Here's what I know. After Nate Diaz fought and beat Conor, he blew up, but that had very different circumstances. And, Diaz did have a bit of a brand recognition as a Diaz prior to that, so that kind of helped things afterwards. Here's what I do know for sure. Khabib is a much bigger star today than he was on Friday. Major improvement. Yeah. Is it worth enough to sell 1 million pay-per-view buys? I'm a little skeptical of that, but I don't know that to be wrong. It could be right. What do you think?
I would say no as far as 1 million, just because the pay-per-view landscape is so rough right now. But I think it could do very well. Be a high selling like 600,000.
Yep. I think that's
around there.
Sure.
I think that's pretty fair. And also, I just want to say, Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson. Let's take away all the fame, all the promotion, all the bad blood. That's such a much better matchup than the Conor one. Would you agree?
I think it's a much better fight. The two interesting matchups there, and I think it's look, those two guys, they've tried to make it 4 times and they can't. But the reality is they're too good to be kept apart. They keep finding a road to the other. I know it's painful. I know we're beaten dogs left out in the rain when it comes to Ferguson versus Nurmagomedov, but it has to happen, and I think, frankly, it will.
I feel so nostalgic watching the morning weigh-ins because they weighed in like just minutes apart from each other.
I know.
I was just like, man, if we could just watch that.
And they
fight,
they both look good on Saturday night too. You know, that would have been an epic fight. Man, I wish we had more time, but 2 hours isn't enough.
We had great calls, but you know,
save them, and we can recycle them some more next week. So we'll see how things go. Good job today, my man.